Sean Diddy Combs, also known by his stage name P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, and Diddy, is an entrepreneur, rapper, producer, and music mogul. He was born on November 4th, 1969, in Harlem, New York City, and he rose to fame in the early 90s. Diddy started, as many people do in the industry, as a talent manager or a talent director at Uptown Records. Later, he founded his own label, Bad Boy Records. To just give you a little perspective on Uptown Records was started by 5 people. Andre Harrell, a name that you guys are probably familiar with. Al B. Shore, the night and day singer, also the ex of Kim Porter and her baby daddy. Heavy D, Puffy, and Kim Porter. These were the people that started at Uptown Records. I met Heavy D back when I was really, really young, a little kid, and he seemed like a pretty decent guy. We know that Kim Porter has passed away, Heavy D has passed away, and so the only 2 left really are Puffy and Al B. Shore. And Al B. Shore almost died, as you guys know. But they found artists such as Mary J. Blige, Jodeci, Heavy D, and the Boys, and Father MC. So this was the posse, this was the group. And obviously there's always somebody, whenever you have a company like this, there's always somebody that wants to be the guy that runs everything. And I feel like Diddy has always been that personality. He's always been somebody that wants full control. And later, Diddy ended up finding his own label, Bad Boy Records, which helped launch the careers of artists like Notorious B.I.G., Faith Evans, Mace, and many others. Bad Boy Records was funded by Clive Davis, and he also had the backing of Andre Harrell. So it seems like Andre Harrell and Diddy had an extremely tight-knit relationship, wink wink, if you know what I mean. Colmes convinced Notorious Big to join his new label, and then that Ready to Die album in 1994, which is from my timeline, this is the music I was listening to in the 90s, was a major moneymaker for Diddy, and it really blew his label up. Diddy then became one of the most influential figures in hip-hop music, known for his business ventures in music, fashion, media. We're talking brand deals, making his own moves, making his own brands. We know that Diddy owned things like Sean John. A lot of money, investing his money in the ventureship that he had with Ciroc Vodka and De Leon Tequila and Aqua Hydrate alkaline water. So Diddy was investing his money wisely. He was making a lot of really good financial investments. However, if you really think about it, a lot of the business ventures that he had, a lot of them have just been dismantled because a lot of these companies now are trying to distance themselves from him because all his business ventures could be involved in different types of schemes. We had a lot of different illegal things going on in the background, allegedly. This is why when I was reading the indictment, when they said that he was running a business enterprise that could be, involved in racketeering and, drugs and all this stuff, it sounds like Diddy is a mastermind. In the long run, you always eventually get caught. Diddy's father, Melvin Earl Colmes, who was a associate of another person that was notorious in New York, Frank Lucas, a major heroin dealer. Now, Sean Diddy Combs' dad sounds like he was just as involved as Diddy is in illegal type stuff, running with people that are, well known to be involved in bad behavior. Melvin Colmes was tragically murdered in 1972 when Diddy, Sean, was just 2 years old. Now, this might have had a huge effect on Diddy. Everyone back in the 70s and 80s knows that New York was a stomping ground for, all sorts of different activity. I mean, New York is the city that never sleeps. It's a big apple. It's, where everybody goes to make moves, money moves. And so it's no surprise that somebody like Diddy would have gone into the same kind of realm that his dad did, wanting to make a lot of money, wanting to be extremely successful, establish himself as a, success story. And we could only imagine how this could have gone to his head when the music industry accepted him and he was making money, with people like B.I.G. at the time. And it seems like Diddy's one of those people, when you read all of the stories about him, he doesn't take no for an answer. He's a perfectionist. He's a person that rules with an iron fist. The book that Kim's Last Lost Words, one of the things that was mentioned was the fact that Diddy didn't like hearing no. He didn't like that, and this is all alleged, obviously. These claims in this book, we need to take it with a grain of salt, because who is the author? I mentioned this person that wrote the book, Jamal Millwood, and that has been mentioned in various internet forums as a alias connected to Tupac Shakur. Now, often the context of the conspiracy theories involving this, right, suggesting that Tupac may still be alive and using this name, are just that. They're just theories. Think about it. Tupac faking his death, living under a different identity as Jamal Millwood. There's no concrete evidence to support the claim. It's just a claim that is out there. It seems like somebody that knows the situation really well, either a friend of Kim Porter's. Obviously, Kim Porter wrote a lot of things in her diary, in her journal herself. Remember, Kim Porter had 2 girls. They were twins. And it says here that both those twin daughters, Delilah and Jessie, are, they're being taken care of by Sean Diddy Combs. I mean, would you want Sean Combs taking care of 2 young 17-year-old, just before that, 2 young daughters? I think not when they're finding thousands of bottles of lube at his house. Let me just play this clip for you.
Sisters to protect, to give advice. So it's like, if they ask me something, I want my answer to be perfect. Check in and see if my advice is working, because I went through what I went through, so I can only explain from my experience.
Right.
Not, they girls at 17 about to be
grown women
18.
And all in the spotlight. Not willingly, but they are all in the spotlight.
And my happiness lies there and only there.
Albie Shore's child. That young man is Albie Shore's child with Kim Porter. And he's there now having to protect his, I say stepsisters, but they're, sisters. And could you imagine him walking on eggshells trying to stand up to somebody like a Diddy to ensure that his sisters are not roped into anything horrible? There's all these kids, and I cannot even imagine that anyone would allow a child around somebody like a Diddy, and yet he has all these kids. And another important thing is when you see people like Deal, who was a bodyguard, who worked for Diddy. We see a lot of him on the internet talking about, he feels bad for him in some ways because he was trained. This was something that Diddy was groomed to be a predator. And I kept thinking to myself, you need to stop making excuses for him.
Because Puff wasn't he wasn't born a monster. You know what I'm saying? He was made into a monster, brother. Do you understand what I'm saying?
But let's just look at some of the names he had here. He had Craig Mack. I love that song, Flavor in Your Ear. Deceased. Craig Mack is deceased. Notorious Big, deceased. Faith Evans is still alive. Where the hell is she? Total. 112, Mace, let's see, Foxy Brown. I'm curious to know where Foxy Brown is. One thing about her is the relationship she had with Jay-Z. Diddy being such a young girl when she signed to the record label. And it's just interesting to know that all that stuff was going on in the 90s. No one did anything about it. No one even saw it as a problem. I think we've finally entered an age where people are starting to see these things for what they are and saying, this is a predatory industry. The music industry is all about taking advantage of people who want to, do what they love, which is music. And Shine is the person that took the fall for the rapper. And he actually is Belizean, just like myself. People in my family probably know him or have worked with him. 10 years in prison. 10 freaking years of his life gone for this incident. Yeah, he ruined his life. I would say so. He absolutely ruined that man's life. He served jail time for Diddy. He said that he betrayed him. I think a lot of people were afraid to say anything about Diddy until Diddy was put behind bars. Even Shine was probably like, I don't want to mess with this man because we don't know what he's capable of. He said, I was defending him and he turned around and called witnesses to testify against me. He pretty much sent me to prison. Yeah, we knew this already. We knew that you were the fall man. We knew that he set you up. And when you're messing with somebody of Diddy's nature, you don't want to turn your back on him, you know? So in 1999, he was convicted of first-degree assault. 3 people were injured at the incident. Could you imagine serving jail time for somebody and the person doesn't even throw you a bone? Colmes was also accused of shooting the gun during the incident. The drug use, they said that he used things like ketamine. Didn't we just see Matthew Perry die from ketamine overdose, oxycodone? He would use these type of things to coerce people, to intimidate them, to join into these freak-offs. If you look at the Kim's Lost Words book on Amazon, that is in the book that he would try to rope Kim into threesomes all the time. He did it with Pac. He tried to do it with J-Lo. And if you think about it, that's a person I'm interested in finding out what she knows. How did she escape Diddy? Who did J-Lo work with to escape Diddy, and who protected her? Because this man federal investigators seized 3 AR-15 rifles. I don't know who counted 1,000 bottles of baby oil, but 1,000 bottles is a lot of baby oil. I mean, how many people were at these freak-offs? It echoes of Jeffrey Epstein all over again, how Jeffrey Epstein was never brought to justice. He's apparently, quote unquote, killed himself, which I, again, do not buy. And when you think about that whole situation, the only person that's serving time is Ghislaine Maxwell. And I feel like that's why they're throwing out Diddy's right-hand woman, because they want her to serve the time. She was the accomplice. She was his Ghislaine Maxwell. When you think about that, though, the people who went to these events, how come no one's name's being brought up? Where is the list of people who attended these events and did these things willingly? According to People magazine, Cassie was spotted out for the first time since Sean Diddy Combs' sex crime arrest. She looks extremely happy. She looks content. She looks like she is ecstatic that this man is put behind bars. I'm actually very happy for her, but if it wasn't for what we saw on that horrible tape of her being assaulted, I don't think a lot of people still would have bought into the idea that Diddy did any of these things. That tape was a deal breaker for me. Because if anyone had said he was this violent, the only thing we would have had to see that he was this violent was how he treated members of Danity Kane when we saw him on that, stupid, ridiculous show. I think of people like Usher, right? All these people that he is, I would say, groomed, in my opinion, to be worker horses for his career. What's so interesting is they're already talking about him being on suicide watch. And when you think about that, it's like, are they trying to tell us that they're going to Epstein him? They said that this prison is short-staffed and it's well known as a prison that is problematic. It's a metropolitan detention center and it's known for being dangerous, understaffed, and has a high number of deaths and suicides. Yeah, you think that's what prison is. And the attorney is saying that a judge needs to transfer him to a prison in Essex because they're scared for him, that he would take his own life. I doubt Diddy would take his own life. When he ends up mysteriously, gone, they could do the escort, the switcheroo, get him out of there, get somebody that looks like a double like him, and problem solved. Entertain. And the entertainment industry knows this and knows that people like Cassie and many others want that fame and want that fortune and want that glory. So you got people like French Montana, Machine Gun Kelly. I don't understand how, if you look at all of the people he's signed and everything that he's done, how you can have a breadth of work like this and still allow yourself to want to do other bad, salacious things. Like, I don't understand it. Like, why couldn't he just be happy with the success that he had? It boils down to feeling of power that you get from holding somebody else's career in your hand and saying, if you don't do what I want you to do, you're not going to have a career.
That virgin hole I was telling you about. Right. Because P. Diddy be wanting to party. And you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did.